Certainly, there already exists a large number of plant and animal species that appear to be immortal, or at least have an extremely extended lifespan when compared to humans. In other words, these species may pass away if they are harmed by a disease, a predator, or an adverse change in their habitat. But because they can continue to live after death, unlike humans, they rarely pass away. Welcome to Facts Talker. Beautiful people, be the first to help the channel out by clicking the subscribe button for more informative videos like this. The top 10 animals that can live after death. Number 10. Terrytopsis Dorney. Terrytopsis Dorney is a jellyfish and is the only species that has been identified as being biologically immortal till present. These tiny translucent creatures, which are found in waters all over the world, have the ability to go back in time and resume an earlier phase of their life cycles. A fertilized egg forms the basis of a new jellyfish life and develops into a planula stage of development. Following a brief swim, the planula attaches to the surface, such as a rock, the ocean floor, or a hull of a boat, where it grows into a polyp. The tube-shaped structure with a mouth at one end and a kind of foot at the other. It stays fixed in place for a while, developing into a little polyp colony that shares feeding tubes. One of these polyps will eventually develop into a protrusion known as a bud, or it may create independent segments stacked on top of one another, which can later break away from the rest of the colony depending on the kind of jellyfish. Number 9. Cockroach. Understanding why a human cannot survive being severed from their head aids in understanding why cockroaches can. Cockroaches are believed to be capable to survive without their heads for several weeks. Cockroaches possess a remarkable array of regenerative abilities, yet they are unable to restore an entire head for the first 2 years of its life, if not longer. They are renowned for their perseverance and do not experience human-like blood pressure. Number 8. Bees. Bees are wingless insects that are tied to ants, wasps, and bees. They are used for pollination, and in the case of the most well-known bee species, the western honeybee, and honey production. Within the Apoidea superfamily, bees constitute a monophyletic lineage. Currently, they are thought to belong to the Anthophila clade. Although a bee may be dead, it is still possible for it to sting you. The problem is that even though the bee is long dead, their sting, and even more critically, the mechanism for delivering venom, will continue to function. When a bee stings, the sting detaches from the bee's body and embeds itself in the victim's skin. A tiny organ that contains the venom and a tiny muscle that releases it are connected to the sting. Picking up a dead bee poses a risk since its activities are not governed by the bee's brain, but rather by automatic impulses. Number 7. Frogs. Frogs belong to the order Anura, which is made up of a variety of short-bodied, tailless amphibians that are primarily carnivorous. Even after their brains have died, frogs can still hop about. The behavior of a frog with its green matter particularly intact is actually remarkable compared to that of a frog whose head is left intact, but whose brain is removed. It will hop away if you pull its feet. If you put it in water, it will swim to the side and climb out. But the most amazing thing of all is that if you stroke its back, it will even croak intently. The strength of the reflex reaction, which fires the required electric impulses to induce a muscle to expand or contract, is the factor that contributes to frogs' propensity for zombie-like behavior. Number 6. Flatworms. A category of soft-bodied, typically greatly flattened intervertebrates is referred to as flatworms. Many flatworm species are free-living, however, roughly 80% among all flatworms are parasitic, meaning they live on or within an organism and draws their nutrition from it. They are capable of reconstructing any lost body parts. When one is divided in half, the tail portion develops a head, and the head portion the tail. Cut it into 20 halves and you'll get 20 new worms. They are identical replicas of the first. The startling fact is that they all descend from a single origin, whose body and organs do not seem to age. They are certain that a single non-dividing worm will live indefinitely without infection or other sickness. They therefore exist alongside us as virtually immortal beings. Number 5. Chickens. Chickens are one of the most common and widespread domestic animals. The chicken is a type of domestic jungle fowl that shares characteristics with organisms that are native to Southeast Asia, like the gray and Ceylon jungle fowl. A smaller male bird may be referred to as a cockerel, and an adult male bird is referred to as a cock or rooster. Yes, chickens can move around everywhere with their heads cut, and the explanation is extremely straightforward. Human mistake is the root cause. This mistake is a butcher's mistake. The central nervous system of a chicken differs greatly from that of humans in that some fundamental bodily processes are managed not by the brain itself, but rather by specific regions of the brain stem. Therefore, when the butcher slices the chicken's head too high, the fowl usually only loses its forebrain along with its head. That leaves the brainstem and the cerebellum largely intact. Number 4. Flies. Mosquitoes, black flies, and robber flies have mouth parts made for piercing and sucking, while the other group of flies have mouth parts made for lapping and sucking. Flies have a mobile head, 2 large compound eyes, and mouth parts made for either lapping or sucking. Claws and pads on their feet allow them to cling to smooth surfaces, while their wing configuration allows for excellent mobility in flight. Flies have the ability to enter suspended animation and endure sub-freezing conditions. After giving them some heat, they will return to normal after being frozen for days. Additionally, female flies can perform complex actions like preening and flying for several days after being beheaded. These beheaded females assume an upright stance similar to that of a normal fly. Number 3. Snakes. Living snakes are found on every continent except Antarctica, and also on most smaller land masses. Exceptions include some large islands such as Ireland, Iceland, Greenland, the Hawaiian Archipelago, and the islands of New Zealand, as well as many small islands of the Atlantic and Central Pacific Oceans. Snakes can indeed kill you even after having their heads cut off because their heads still have fangs, and their poison sacs can still bite you and inject you with deadly venom even though they are no longer connected to the rest of the snake's body. The snake contains heat-sensitive pits on either side of its face that it utilizes to identify threats. These heat-sensitive pits can now continue to function for hours after a threat has been eliminated. This indicates that even though it appears to be dead, the snake's head will continue to defend itself and may bite you if you approach it or attempt to pick it up. Number 2. Turtles. The Testudines, an order of reptiles that includes turtles, are distinguished by a shell that is primarily made from their ribs. The 2 main subgroups of modern turtles are side-neck turtles and concealed neck turtles, which are distinguished by how the head retracts. Fish, reptiles, birds, and mammals all have pacemaker cells in their hearts that take over when the brainstem fails to send signals. It somehow ensures that the heart continues to beat even after the brain has shut down. However, the turtle took it to a completely different level, and this is because their heart is deprived of the oxygen and nutrients that the blood normally provides. Because these creatures have an extremely lengthy lifespan, the loggerhead musk turtle, for example, can live for 5,000 hours before dying. Because they can absorb oxygen from the water through their skin, esophagus, and butt end, they can live that long. Number 1. Salamander. The salamander family of amphibians is known for having slender bodies, blunt snouts, short limbs that extend at right angles to the body, and tails in both larvae and adults. These characteristics give salamanders a lizard-like appearance. The order Urodela includes all 10 of the known salamander families. Lifelong and immortality have historically been associated with salamanders. Salamanders possess the amazing capacity to regenerate any body part that has been amputated. Actually, the newly generated components perform equally well, and in some cases, even better than the original component. This is primarily due to the unique protein present in salamanders that promotes cell proliferation. Humans also contain this protein, albeit in much lesser amounts. Be careful the next time you try to kick a dead animal so you don't have yourself to blame. Which of these animals, I meant immortals, have you interacted with? Thank you, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.